Military Seahawk Podcast.
Welcome to the Military Seahawk Podcast. I'm Melanie Nelson, the Military Student Services Specialist here at UNCW, and today I'm interviewing one of our student veterans, Jay Richardson. How's it going, Jay?
Great. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks for coming on the show. So Jay had a very exciting summer at Google Scholars, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. I'm excited to learn more about that. But first, we're going to take a little history lesson, and we're going to learn more about Jay and where he came from and how he wound up at UNCW. So my first question for you, Jay, is when you were a little kid, like age 6 or 7, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh, besides Power Ranger, I definitely wanted to be a secret agent or a spy.
Okay, so Power Ranger, secret agent, spy. So we can kind of see you winding up in the military with those aspirations just a little bit. Just a little bit. So did those aspirations change a little bit as you grew older?
Yes. So I grew up hearing my family, my dad, my uncle, my grandpa, who all served in the military. They would tell me all the fun stories and adventures they'd go through, and eventually I kind of wanted to have my own stories.
Yeah, you're like, oh, these are real life spy type things.
Power Rangers, maybe.
Power Rangers, cool stuff. They didn't say anything like that. The uniforms just aren't as cool, but like they didn't tell you that. So that's how you decided to go into the military. Then it's kind of the family legacy.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you were in high school, what other interests did you have outside of like you kind of knew that was where you were headed?
Well, I grew up playing sports, did soccer, played football, baseball, kind of every sport you can imagine. As far as school went, I definitely wasn't the best student ever. I was definitely more concentrated on sports.
Okay. So that means that going into the military really made a lot of sense for you, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So towards the end of high school, I definitely knew I wanted to go in the military, that I just wasn't ready for college.
Yeah, you had a lot of self-awareness, and then knowing that your family had done that made it a little bit easier probably to funnel in that direction. So what branch of service did you end up joining?
Well, I was a Marine.
You were a Marine. You are a Marine. Always a Marine, right? Were the rest of the people in your family Marines?
No. Actually, most were either Army or Air Force. So, yeah, sorry to hear that. But
well, I mean, you know. Yeah, okay, fine. I come from a Marine family. I've heard it all before. I was in the Navy, so it doesn't translate for me. How did they feel about you going into the Marines?
Actually, they were really surprised. They thought I was going to go the Navy route, but then I started doing workouts and PT with the recruiters and everything. Ended up liking that a lot better and ended up going that route. Yeah,
which not everybody has the same story about going into the military, so I always like to ask, like, how did people choose their branch and get involved and, like, the stars seem to have aligned for you to go into the Marine Corps.
Definitely, yeah. I felt like I was getting the best of every world.
Yeah, all the things that you were sort of tangentially interested in kind of came together in this one. Like, wait, I can just run around and work out for a living?
They just put me on a boat and I just go other places. That's cool.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love, right? So where'd you go to boot camp?
So, out in Paris Island, here.
Lovely, lovely Paris Island. Yeah. Mosquitoes, bugs.
All the crabs and everything.
All the things, yeah. And then kind of what happened in your military career after that?
So basically, I went the infantry route, and then from there, they decided to pick me to be a machine gunner, and then they picked about half of us, and from there, got sent to Hawaii, and that was my first duty station. Your
first duty station was in Hawaii. Far cry from Paris Island. You're like, hey, things are looking up.
The worst duty station ever.
Right, yeah. Hardship duty right there. So what do you like to do in Hawaii?
Every weekend, my friends and I would go explore. We'd go meet some locals or something like that, try to find out about history. Our favorite thing to do was hikes. Hikes or maybe like a Spartan run or something like that.
So basically the same things you did for work, just for fun?
Yes.
Yes, of course, because you were an infantry Marine. And what else would you do with your time in a beautiful setting? Yeah. So that was your first duty station. Did you spend most of your time, how long were you in the military?
Just 4 years.
Just 4 years. So you were in Hawaii the whole time?
Yes.
Nice. That works. Any deployments?
No, just foreign internal defense. So basically we would just go and train other militaries.
Yeah, which is something that like the American military gets to do that is so cool because you're having this cultural interaction that you were never trained for really, and you're up against this culture that you're like, what is happening here? But why would they do it that? Oh, that's cool. And like there's all this learning that happens, and it's something that we don't really get to advertise that you might get to do when you're in the military.
Definitely. People see all sorts of pictures and everything. What they don't see is like the different training. Like say if we went to the Philippines or Malaysia, they may have some sort of different training thing that looks really scary and unsafe, but to them, that's all they know. And you kind of have to show them, like, hey, don't shoot into the ground just to waste all your ammo to unload. Actually, just unload the ammo.
After your little trainer's heart calms down and you're like, okay, nobody actually died during this, but let me show you a better way to do it.
First time you see, you're like, oh, he did that by accident. Then you figure out that wasn't by accident. They're all doing this.
That was intentional. Oh dear, what are we going to do about that? And I always think too of the those videos where I think they were training, maybe it was the Afghani police, and they're trying to teach them how to do calisthenics, and they're they have all these guys jumping around, trying to teach them how to do jumping jacks, and people are just sort of hopping around the training area, they're very confused about why you would ever jump and wave your arms in the air, and I don't know. That's what I think. I'll see if I can find a link and add that into this somehow, because nobody knows what I'm talking about now. But yeah, so you've had some pretty cool experiences in the military. What did you like best about your job?
In the military, my favorite was being aboard the ship and actually going over how to teach. I didn't realize later on that learning how to teach other militaries and kind of adapting to communicating in a different way other than actually talking to them went a long way. It's something I definitely carried outside of the military.
Yeah. So there's the way that the Marines train, it's so compact in the way that we share information. I spent a little bit of time with the Marines. We just took our faculty and staff on a tour over at Camp Lejeune and New River Air Station. Yeah, we had a great time. And the best part is, we go up to the AAVs, the amphibious assault vehicles, and the Marines come out and they do their little show and share thing, as though we're, all 5 and in kindergarten and we're just going to listen to you talk about what you do all day. But they convey so much information in such a short amount of time. And it's it's all downloaded instantly into a Marine's brain. And then they just go forth and do their maintenance and do the things that are associated with that. And then to be able to figure out how to teach other people to do that and how to train other people, there's a whole extra layer that goes into that. And again, you don't always get to hear about that, but that's nice that that's the coolest thing that you got to do.
Yeah, the AAVs are always a good time. A lot of the exhaust goes actually into the whole body, so you have to deal with a lot of heat and stuff. So
a lot of bad smells.
Yeah, it's a lot of fast-paced learning, and you learn very fast. So you're in for a bad time.
Yeah. And then when you're with a foreign military too, they have kind of different equipment sometimes, or just different ways of doing things, and sometimes even the way they eat their meals is different. And so you're participating in all of that, and then you're also trying to figure out how to adapt your training methods to make them understand what it is you want to do. That's all kinds of challenges.
So the Korean MREs actually cook themselves as soon as you
cook themselves. Of course.
So as soon as you rip off the tab, it starts cooking. And I remember the first time I did that, I was like, "What is happening right now? Is it going to blow up?"
What's the first MRE you ever ate?
It was I believe the veggie burger.
Okay. So when I was, the first MRE I ever ate was the meatloaf MRE. It didn't stay down. It was really, really awful. I think they've gotten better since then, but not by much.
Not gonna lie, I'm not gonna miss the Skittles. Were so old that they were all white, so it's always mystery flavor.
It's always a mystery.
Yeah, always.
It's just well, on the one hand, we can be this is mystery night at a pub, and I'll just take whatever you give me, and it'll be great. And also, this is disgusting, and I don't want to eat this anymore. So I'm guessing that is one thing that you didn't like about your job was the times you had to eat MREs.
No, that was never fun.
Never fun. What else did you not like about being in the military or being in the infantry, maybe?
I think one of the biggest things that I learned, having a title or a rank doesn't exactly make you a good leader, nor does it make you a great leader. Leadership is definitely something someone has to kind of develop and learn. It's not it's just naturally there. You're promoted, you're a great leader. It's definitely something you have to adapt and just get used to being, and you just step up to the plate.
Yeah. It's kind of, so when little kids start kindergarten, there's this idea that parents these days are oh no, how will they be able to handle being in kindergarten? It's you learn to handle being in kindergarten by being in kindergarten. And you learn to be a leader by being a leader, by being thrust into these awful, impossible situations sometimes where there are so many competing priorities and you're just trying to do the best thing for everybody and it just doesn't always work out. And there really is no way to teach somebody to prioritize. They have to live it for a while. And so, yeah, that automatic promotion or that promotion that sort of came along, you're okay, I competed and I did the promotion. Oh, now I have a whole pile of learning to do. You never get to rest on your laurels and just kind of chill out and do what you were doing before, and with slightly more people, there's always a new layer.
Yeah. The leaders who get to the ones that pick and choose emulating other leaders and stuff that definitely grow a lot faster than the people who are just oh yeah, I'm ready right now, let's do this. And so that's one thing I definitely noticed, and I still try to do, just see like other leaders and I'd be like, oh yeah, I like that they do that, or don't like that.
Yeah.
And so I'll go and try it. If I don't like it, I won't do it, and it goes a long way.
Yeah, you can definitely learn just as much from things that you don't like that you see as from, and it's almost easier to have the learning then because you're like, oh no, this does not feel right to me. This is not working. Whereas like when things are good because somebody is doing a good job as a leader, it's almost harder to figure out how they're doing it.
That's true. And never be scared to ask. Like, I would rather ask than just completely mess up and look really dumb. Because I can't tell you how many times I've messed up and looked really dumb.
About as many times as I have messed up and looked really dumb. Yeah.
Learn the hard way.
Yeah. Well, we all learn that. Yeah. That's the thing about Marines in general. They're going to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Just because it's more fun that way sometimes.
You're not wrong.
I know. I grew up with Marines. I got it. So I guess, is there one habit or mindset that you developed in the military, apart from like learning about other leaders and learning how they do things? Is there anything else that you're taking away from the military when you left that you've brought into your identity as a veteran?
Definitely. So structure and discipline was the biggest thing for me. So believe it or not, I still wake up around 5 a.m. every morning.
I absolutely believe that. Lots of Marines still wake up around 5 in the morning.
I wake up around 5 in the morning. First thing I do is I'll wake up, make my bed, and then I'll go downstairs and actually read for an hour, believe it or not. But it won't be any kind of academic book or anything like that. It'll actually be a personal read or something like that. And then after that, I start a task list. And I'll start like, oh, I have to do this for the day. And then after that, I actually do a morning workout. So after that little easy morning workout, I might clean something. Otherwise, I'll start knocking out that list. And so that structure and discipline kind of starts my day off. So even if I'm having a bad day, I know I have that one control where I actually finished something and I accomplished something or bettered myself in some way.
So I read in a book that Saddam Hussein does not make his bed in the morning, or did not. Did you read that book about, it was by like a Navy SEAL, and he was like, there are simple things you can do to start your day off right that will make things better. And he's like, you should always make your bed in the morning because it's a small win, it's a victory. And then he was like, he was one of the ones who went and found Saddam Hussein, and he was like, he had a cot and he did not make up his cot every morning. I'm just saying. He was like super smug about it. I'll see if I can find a link to that book too now, because obviously otherwise people won't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, all those habits. And it's funny because I read all these articles about mindfulness and ways, like the easy habits to start your day, and everything you've listed is on there. Like, wake up and make my bed. I've got that easy win. And then do some personal reading, which, by the way, that is a thing the Marines do. They love to read. They love history, and they love all kinds of things that are written down because you like to be learning constantly. Again, like when you're used to taking in a lot of information at once in the military, an easy way to get that input when you leave, I think, is by reading.
Yes,
and bringing it in.
Completely.
And listening to podcasts. Go figure. And then, yeah, making your list for the day and then doing that workout just to get everything headed in the right direction. Like, those are things that do not surprise me about you. There are some people, though, who leave the military and they're like, I'm good. I'm one of these, I don't ever want to have to get up at 5 in the morning again. I do sometimes, but it's not really my thing.
Yeah. And there's a lot of veterans that do that, and if they can do it, good on them. They can handle it. I know it just helps me get throughout the day just because I've got a lot to do. I've got a lot of people wanting, like, me to join in on things, some kind of event or coordinating something, or hey Jay, come help out with this. Are you going to come
be
to this
interviewed
event?
on my podcast?
Yeah, I was actually excited. I was like, oh, that's cool. And so things like that. And so I know I've already completed almost everything on my list so far. So
yeah, I think that's a really good thing to take with you into your life as a veteran. Is there any military habit that you were kind of glad to drop when you left the military?
Any kind of military? Yes, I definitely know. So getting out, I think a lot of veterans have that. I know I had when I first came in. You get out thinking, oh, I just got through the military. College is going to be so easy compared to the military. I had this kind of sense of entitlement, like, oh yeah, I get all these benefits, and since I'm a veteran now, I'm just automatically going to be guaranteed a job as soon as I get out and everything. That was not the case at all.
Yeah.
So I think the biggest thing I learned was dropping the sense of entitlement and like the world owed me something, and the fact that I had to keep proving myself and keep pushing forward. And from that, I've been able to better myself instead of being kind of complacent of just getting benefits in college. Well, in college is just fine for anyone doing that, but if you really want to get out there and like really succeed and do well, that way you don't have to worry later on, like your senior year, like, oh my God, I don't have a job. You can be like, oh, hey, I've already done this. I've already put in the legwork. Now I can just kind of relax.
Yeah, like I've built my framework and now I'm just going to roll forward with it. That's interesting because I think a lot of people, when they're in the military, they don't have a sense of entitlement, right? Because we're working and like you're so busy and you're earning it every day. Mm-hmm. And then you leave the military and it's sort of this identity that we can fall back on that's like, I'm a veteran. And okay, maybe the world doesn't owe me everything, but like there's a little prestige that comes along with this. There's a little bit of a sense of like, I'm going to be special while I'm allowed to be special, right? And I think that sometimes that can prove to be less than helpful if you don't start building and scaffolding yourself into a new identity.
I definitely agree. So one of the biggest pieces of advice I can offer any veteran, leverage your veteran framework. If you don't want to identify as a veteran, you're just trying to go to school, do your own thing, that's cool. But just know if you leverage your like veteran framework through things like Student Veterans of America, places like Google, Lockheed Martin, NASA, they have so many veteran programs for like veteran students or dependents or spouses that it's unreal how many don't apply for these things. They're just out there. You just got to know how to apply and actually do the work and you'll get all these great things.
Yeah. You want to talk about the great things you've gotten through applying yourself and building your framework?
Yeah. So
let's start with this summer. What did you do this summer, Jay?
So this summer I had a internship with Raytheon working with the DoD and Department of the Navy, which I did pretty well in that internship, actually. So now that's pretty much a co-op part-time job, and I work remotely for my last year of college. So I get to work from home.
Very
making
nice.
Pretty decent money. And during the summer, I also got to go to Google HQ. So I got a Google scholarship for $10,000.
So was it like on that movie, The Internship?
So
inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, everyone's been asking. It's cool. I actually watched that movie before going just to see like, oh, what's it gonna be
like your orientation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So actually, since that movie was a little dated, it was not like I pictured. It was way nicer and a lot more crazy. It's basically like Willy Wonka's technology factory. Like the rooftops had parks. They had coffee and lollipops that would print your selfie on them. It sounds crazy.
I'm speechless, which is not a good thing to be in the middle of a podcast.
That's what I said. I'm literally eating my face right now.
I'm not sure I like this.
The weirdest flex, but okay.
But okay, sure. We've got the tech. Let's use it. Okay, yeah.
But yeah, it was really interesting being at that Google retreat, just because there were all sorts of other groups. There was like women in STEM. There was all sorts of other minority groups. I hadn't realized a lot of them had never met a veteran before.
Yeah, so this is something that we talk about with our faculty and staff during the Green Zone training that we do. As part of the reason we need to offer this training is because so many people, and we live in the most military-friendly state in the United States, right? North Carolina, you drive in on the highway, the most military-friendly state. But even so, a lot of people have had no personal interactions with someone who's very closely associated with the military. And you would think that people would be like, oh, yeah, my friend joined up. No, a lot of people have really never done anything with someone who worked for the military or who lived on a military base. So, yes, we are a minority group. And what makes us minority is that a lot of people have no truck with us.
Yeah, it was really interesting. They had a lot of questions. They'd never, a lot of them were even from, this country. They just started college in the U.S. And so they'd ask me, oh, what'd you do? What was it like? You know, a lot of them thought oh, hey, all of us have PTSD for whatever reason. And I'd be like, no, we don't all have that.
Oh, here's that awkward moment where I have to speak for the entire student veteran population and dispel all the myths that people have developed around us.
They're imagining all of us had really long beards, and it was pretty interesting.
Earlier I was making the beard gesture because I was wondering if that was a habit you're happy to have since you left the military.
Oh, yes, I actually had to shave twice a day. So I used to carry a razor in my pocket, and it was not fun.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes relaxing standards is a good thing. So did you have questions about the other minority populations that were there?
Oh, yeah. My first question was, how did you find out you got the scholarship? No one ever asked that question, but one time it hit me, how did you find out? I remember I was literally at the Student Veterans National Conference at Disney, and I just, driven all the way there, and then I got this phone call going, oh, hey, this is Karen. And I was like, hi, Karen. I'm a Student Veterans of America. I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm at Disney. Hi, what's going on? I'm here for the conference. She's like, I just want to tell you that you got the Google scholarship. And I was like,
you're like, the what now?
The what? And, of course, when I applied to this, it was right before Hurricane Florence, so I completely forgot. It didn't even like cross my mind. And whenever I apply for any scholarships or schools or anything, I actually set up way beforehand. I'll keep folders on my computer where I get all the applications, letters, and as soon as that date hits, like in the very first day, I just submit it all right there. But when I found out about it, I was like, oh my God. And like some people were like freaking out. I'm like, I can't tell anybody. I was like, can I tell my dad? And I was like the first person I called was like my dad, like, Dad, I got a Google scholarship.
He's like, awesome. What's that mean?
He's like, you're not smart enough.
Oh, you're like, you were a Marine.
Right, okay.
That's really cool. So what was the best part of being a Google Scholar?
Definitely seeing everything they have and have to offer. During the same time as the scholarship, they were actually having their annual Google Cybersecurity Capture the Flag competition. And so that was really cool. So I got to see some of the cybersecurity things. I got to see the AI residency program, which they were looking for new people. And since I was like actually there was only 2 of us cybersecurity people there, and both veterans.
Both veterans, go figure.
Yeah, and there was a lot of questions, kind of like what we could do, where we've been, or like what we have
like what's
done.
your perspective kind of on cybersecurity?
Yeah, which is really cool. And so they would show us around like some of the cybersecurity stuff, and it's really interesting.
That is really interesting. What's interesting, too, is I'm seeing, like, you know, when you're a little kid, you wanted to be a Power Ranger and do, like, spy-y things. And then you're sort of going through high school and you're like, you know, the military will give me a good chance to, like, grow up and be something, right? We don't know what it's going to look like, but we'll give it a shot. And then actually I do need to ask you, how did you wind up coming from Hawaii, where you were still in the military, you got out as a veteran? How did you wind up at UNCW all the way over here?
So I actually found out I got into UNCW in the middle of the desert in California. I didn't even have service, so only like the cafeteria at like midnight.
This is becoming a theme with you too. Like you don't know things are happening that are happening. I just
got Wi-Fi.
You're always out of access.
I got like an email saying, "Oh, congratulations, you got accepted to UNCW." I was like, I like stood up and screamed, like, "I'm going to college!" And like I remember like some staff NCO was like, "Shut up!" And I was like, "Yeah, staff sergeant."
No, never mind.
Just kicked me out of the cafeteria. But my stepmom actually has family here, and she was like, "Oh, you should apply here," and I did. I've always wanted to see what my, because you have to submit like a little paragraph of why you want to go to UNCW.
Yeah.
I typed that in a little like iPhone 4 that was cracked in between ranges. So
yeah,
I've always wanted to read like, oh, that's probably so bad.
Yeah, maybe don't go back and read that.
Yeah,
just rest on your laurels of what you've done since you've been here. I mean, that's another thing that people just like sometimes don't realize about the military. We're always doing stuff on the go. We're always like kind of jerry-rigging things to make it work. Like, this will do. I'm on a cracked iPhone 4 in the middle of the desert, but it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And it was fine. Like we sort of have this idea that like everything's going to be okay because we just figure it out and make it work and it'll be fine.
Yeah, you just go from there, just kind of roll with the punches, but we're all kind of good at that.
Yeah, I think so. So came to UNCW. What's your major here?
So my major is information technology with a concentration in cybersecurity.
Which makes sense. Again, like got out, started doing this. You got involved with did you start the cybersecurity there or were you just part of it?
So originally, a friend brought me, another Marine actually, he was with MARSOC, asked me if I wanted to come to a meeting, and I went to a meeting, and it was really cool. And after that, I kind of got really interested. I would just spend hours reading and kind of reading up on cybersecurity. And then after that, I kind of got into the red team side, so the actual like exploits and hacking side. And from there, I would actually learn how to do competitions. I would do challenges, or actually learn how to exploit systems. And so that was kind of how I got into that whole thing. And then after that, I kind of started teaching and helping out in the club and also the team. And it's kind of interesting because not many schools or even clubs go past a certain point in cybersecurity, and our school definitely has. And it's very interesting to see. It's why we're getting so much attention too. Yeah,
the UNCW, I probably shouldn't call the place where I work a sleeper school, but it's kind of a sleeper school because people are like, oh, that's a nice place, like out on the coast. We have this beautiful campus. And then you start digging around into the different programs we have, and there are always things that are surprising me. And cybersecurity is one of them because, like, well, that's not the area of the world that we normally think cybersecurity.
Not at all.
But it kind of makes sense that it would be somewhere where you wouldn't think that it would be, right? Like if we put all those things together. So yeah, so I'm not surprised that you wound up doing some of the training for the group based on the fact that that's what you like doing in the military, right? And it's always interesting to find out how people have taken different aspects of their career. Like okay, you kind of get assigned to do things in the military. You're sort of like, I'm along for the ride. Oh, we're going to go train this foreign country and their military on how to do whatever. Okay, I'll do the best I can. And even if you like maybe didn't enjoy it that much while you were doing it, later on it's like, oh yeah, but I can do that. And these elements get wound back into our lives somehow in unexpected ways sometimes.
I definitely agree. So for cybersecurity, for the club or the team, helping is always interesting just because everyone comes from a different background. Some don't know anything at all. When I started, I didn't know anything. And some actually have a decent amount. So you kind of have to like improvise and kind of like, oh, hey, if you're really good, try this or try helping out. Or if you're really new, like we're about to learn like the ABCs of everything.
Yeah. You have a whole community of practice going on where like some people are like, they're just leading because they're doing it and they're like sort of explaining over their shoulder while they're doing it. And then other people are like, wait, what? I don't know what's happening here. What did you just say? What do I do with my hands? Can I just make the coffee run? Because I don't know what's going on here. That's what I would do. Yeah, so you've already started working. So this is kind of like the ultimate dream for a college student, frankly, is to like land a job in the industry that you want to be working in. Well, first of all, it's to figure out what industry you want to be working in for some people. And then to land a job, which you did through a lot of networking and through
Definitely.
Student Veterans of America. So you're already working on this job, and you said you're working remotely from home, which, again, kind of the dream. You live at the beach, and you get to work from home, and you're still finishing up your degree.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy that. Basically, after classes, I just go home and I'll just start working on the projects that they assign to me or whatever thing I have to do that day, whether it be training or anything. And if I don't have anything to do, I can find something to do or I can just go to the beach.
Or you can just go to the beach. I mean, wow, geez, that just sounds like, I mean, you pretty much got it made. Which my last question is, where do you think you'll go from here?
That is a great question. So my current plan right now is I'm always planning for the next thing in the future while I'm kind of doing the thing now.
Because you're a Marine, Jay. We know you're planning ahead.
Yeah, so one of the programs the Raytheon has is basically I can get nominated to go to grad school through them at Johns Hopkins University for systems engineering with a concentration in cybersecurity. So
better you than me.
Yeah, so that would be my next plan as far as where I want to go. I do like working here remotely, but it could be anywhere from Arizona to California to Boston to maybe Europe. So I could literally go basically anywhere I want, which is nice. So putting in all that work my freshman, sophomore, junior year was definitely worth it.
Yeah. I think sometimes, like you said, people come in and they're like, okay, I'm a college kid. I'm just going to relax now. Like, I got out of the military. Stuff was very intense. I'm ready to just sort of like take a breather. And sometimes when that happens, you can kind of just fall off the rails a little bit. And then it takes a while to find your way back into the things that motivate you to keep going. So when you're saying you came here as a freshman, you transferred in and started just seeking things to do, going to the Involvement Carnival, which is coming up this week, and just checking different things out and trying things out, right?
Definitely. I think one of the biggest things, actually I know the biggest thing was like the pivot point for me was actually, so it's very common for veterans, spouses or dependents starting college to have a very first rough transition year.
Yeah.
I know mine was awful. It was terrible. I was actually so fed up with how bad my luck was that I actually went to the Military Resource Lounge.
Oh.
Yeah, with like, here's like, if I ever have a problem, I'm going to have a solution for it. Otherwise, I'm just going to call that complaining. So what I did was I just thought about everything. I was like, okay, I'm going to go in there. I'm going to tell them all these problems and how to like fix it or my ideas. I went in there and the person working at the time was like, oh, hey, do you want a job as a VA work study? And I was like,
I have a place for problem solvers.
I was like, oh, okay, yeah. And from there, it's how I kind of met Student Veterans of America. And from like my freshman year, I learned like, oh my God, I need to start like right now, networking, working really hard, applying early, kind of setting myself up for like success in the future. That way I can just relax like I am now in my senior year.
Yeah. We have so many students who transfer in and like they're trying to work on a compressed timeline anyway. So it's like you really have to hit the ground running in terms of getting connected and trying new things and just, coming and hanging out in the lounge and listening to what other people are doing and then going and hanging out with another group somewhere on campus and listening to what they're doing. Just kind of feeling your way around until you find the thing that picks you up.
It's really fun. So Cyber Defense Club, I done a few things with a sailing club. That was fun. This year, I'm hoping to get involved with other things. I actually want to try either baseball or rugby or something like that. I got a few veteran friends that do rugby, so I might try that. I'm probably out of shape, but I'm still going to try.
I'm pretty sure it would get you back into shape if you were really concerned about it. Okay. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience?
No, I think that's it for now.
We pretty much covered your entire life history and where you're going from here.
Podcast will then I'll probably have like, oh my God, I should have said that, but
It's okay. If you let me know, we'll put it in the notes somewhere.
no, I felt like I covered everything in my secret that I want to be a Power Ranger someday, you know? It's still a dream.
It takes a very vulnerable person to admit that kind of thing on the air.
Maybe
so
label as a Space Marine or,
Space Marine,
Force,
something that,
That's close enough.
You never know. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're at the point in life where you can just design your own costume for these things, like your own superhero costume, and just nobody's going to know you work remotely. You can sit at home in your Power Rangers. Oh, man. If you do, can you send us a picture? Because that would be great.
I will.
I will not send a picture.
You guys have made it.
I made it. I have arrived. Okay. Well, thank you for listening to episode 3 of the Military Seahawk podcast. To check out more, go to www.uncwtltv.org/Hawkstream, or we're on iTunes and Spotify. Thanks, Jay.
All right. Thanks. You guys have a good one.
You too.